Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, H.I. Picks, the other half of the show, The Parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC Vegas 74. We had a bit of a robbery. Let's get into it. I've said it before, and you have also said it, but we hate the term robbery because it gets overused. But I think in this case, it might be worth it. Kai France getting robbed in the main event of the 13 fights. Gladly, none of them came out wrong, but overall, pretty wild night, I would say. Some fights went the way that we wanted them to. Some fights didn't. I was on Kai France in the main event, and I thought he was secured, and it was going to be looking like a nice little day, a nice little plus 2.5 units type of day for me. And then he loses, and I ended up just over a half a unit, so like 0.6 some units. So just a little profit there for me, but overall, it's always nice to be in the profit, and if there's a couple bounces that don't go your way and you're still in the profit, I'll take it. So that's my recap for the premium picks. The biggest play on the card for me was the prize picks play. Gained 2 units there. Real easy one. Maxine Grishin under strikes, Jin Frey over one takedown, and she got it within like 30 seconds. So I was happy about that. That's always nice to hit. Nice little plus 200 play there. But yeah, overall, decent night for me. How about you?
Yeah, slightly red, just ever so slightly though. Nothing hurt, no real damage on the betting side on this card, but some bets that just didn't go my way that should have. Like I had Alex Caceres third round KO or third round finish.
That was
plus
nuts.
750, and it doesn't hit. Like that thing looked like it was going to hit 5 different times. I also had him in round 2. I mean, he kind of got dominated there in round 2, but that third round when he landed that body kick and you could see Pineda's hands drop, he winced and like almost bent over, and Caceres didn't do anything. He didn't follow up. He didn't go after him, and that happened several times. And if I'm Caceres there, I'm just unloading like 3 more body kicks in a row, maybe go up top with one, and you probably end the fight. Super disappointing, man. Hit that plus 750. It's a good night. So,
dude, I was pissed too because I had Caceres under a half takedown, and he didn't even go for any until the last 30 seconds of the fight when Pineda was like gassed out and he just got an easy takedown. Because Pineda was looking good on the ground, and like Caceres didn't want to go to the ground at all, but he had him on the feet. He just followed up a couple shots. That's a plus 750 cash right there. I thought for sure. I thought it was inevitable. Like we start the third round, and Pineda's gassed, and he's just like standing there. Just throw a couple in combination and take him out. Like I thought it was a for sure bet after like the first 2 seconds of the first round or the third round. Wild, but
free play hit for us. The free play we gave out. Felipe Lins plus 120. That was a good one to hit right off the bat. I think I had him for 1.5 units. 1.5 units. So that was a great way to start the card, get a big underdog like that to cash. Carini Silva under 2.5 rounds. Thing ended so fast. Had her in a parlay with Daniel Santos. That thing hit as well. So overall, we hit some good plays. Just some of them didn't go our way. Ended up damn near even on the night. Like I said, no damage done. But a lot to talk about with some of these fights.
Yeah. Biggest play on the card for me, Tim Elliott moneyline cashed. And like you said, Felipe Lins cashes the free play. That's 3 in a row. So if you're not following us on IG at the Double Leg, what are you doing? We're giving out the free plays 3 in a row on IG. One thing I want to go over for the premium members, we get a lot of these messages asking us like how to manage bankroll and everything. Look, if you're not going to chase your losses and you're not going to just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and expect it to hit, you can do this for entertainment for a long time. Like just stick to what you're playing. Don't start chasing once you're losing, because we got 13 fights, and if we're 6 fights in and it's not going your way, you still have another 6 to 7 fights after that, so it could turn around real quick. So just don't chase and stick to the script. But we'll get over and recap the rest of the fights. If you want to join the Double Leg Premium, link is down in the description. But we'll start with the main event: Kai Kara France, Amir Albazi. This is the talk of the fight card. I'll let you go first. What did you think of it? What is your opinions on the judges' scorecards?
Yeah, look, it was a close fight. I don't think it was razor close though. I think Kai Kara France is the clear winner, but I understand how people could say, yeah, that was a close fight. But with Albazi, man, he got round 3 for sure. Gets the takedown, almost had the submission. But other than that, I mean, there's a case for Kai Kara France winning the rest of those 4 rounds and at least 3 rounds. I mean, at least. You look at that 4th round that Chris Lee gave to Albazi, and Kai outlanded Albazi 27-5 in the striking. So it's like it's just hard to wrap your head around. And I've seen people saying that Albazi was more aggressive. He was the one coming forward. But I mean, eh, just going up and engaging in the clinch, not getting any takedowns, not landing any strikes, and Kai's going to land 27 to your 5. I mean, that's a clear cut round for Kai. I mean, I go back to the Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon fight. Jared Gordon did exactly what Amir Albazi was doing, just holding him up against the cage, doing nothing. And Paddy didn't land a single shot that round, and they gave it to Paddy. So it's like, I don't know. The inconsistency is the most frustrating thing. It's like week to week, it's so inconsistent. And then to see Kai, I think the robbery comes from more of the judges' scorecards and how he scored it, not so much the fight and who won. But I mean, that's a clear cut win in round 4 for Kai Kara France. And Chris Lee didn't give it to him, and that cost him the fight, cost him the win. I mean, I was not even expecting a split decision. I was expecting 48-47, 48-47, maybe 49-46 on a card for Kai. So when they read off split decision, man, my heart sank because you knew it was coming. They were giving him the screws.
Yeah, I scored it 49-46 for Kai when I was watching it live. Pretty much like you said, I thought round 3 was the only round that Albazi won. Got the takedown, his lone takedown of the fight in that round, and threatened the submission. 3 minutes of control time. Kai ended up on top at the end of the round, landed some good elbows. So that's how we outstruck him there. But I think that's an Albazi round 100%. For all 3 of the judges, rounds 2 and 3 were unanimous for Albazi, which I thought round 2, when I watched it at least, was Kai Kara France. I thought he landed the better shots. He landed more shots. Albazi was the one walking him down, but he wasn't really throwing anything or landing anything. So I gave it to Kai. But you look at this fight, it's like, how can you say there's 3 rounds that Albazi won? Like,
Right.
really won? I think there's 1 round that he won, and then there's a swing round, and then the other 3, I'm like, I mean, if you're really biased, maybe you could say round 1, but rounds 4 and 5 are like clear for Kai. And I thought round 1 was pretty clear for Kai too. Albazi was doing the same thing he did in round 2, walking him down, not throwing anything. He landed 6 strikes the entire first round, and Kai doubled him up, and he just landed the cleaner shots too. And I don't know. I can't really wrap my head around this. I think you mentioned the Patty and Gordon fight. Chris Lee was one of the judges that scored it for Albazi in this one, and he was one of the judges that scored it for Patty in that fight as well.
Yeah.
What? Because he was on the judges score, or the judges panel there for that fight. It was a unanimous decision, 29-28 there. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really find any reason how Albazi could win 3 rounds in this fight. But what is going to be done about it? I don't know. Probably nothing, because that's just what it is. This is pretty much what happens every time. Is we talk about it after that, and then nothing happens. You still see the same guys on the scorecards getting it wrong, and they just keep coming back.
Yeah.
UFC can't really, like, they don't hire the judges, so they can't really take the responsibility for it. But I don't know if they can be like, no, we don't want these people judging, or
Right.
what. Like, is that the only way we can go about this? Because it's the same dudes that are messing up, but they're still getting the same opportunities. And Mike Bell, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Bell was one of the guys that scored it for. Actually, no, I don't want to go down the road because I don't have it up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, What do you think?
I mean, it's just the inconsistency again. I mean, there's a criteria these judges follow, and they're supposed to score fights based on. But it's clear that half of them are judging on damage, and that's what they're keying in on. And it's clear that guys like Chris Lee obviously are going for clinch control, who's marching forward, not necessarily looking at who's doing the damage. And I was under the impression that the judges are supposed to hold damage in higher regards than anything else, but it doesn't seem that way. I mean, even going back to like the Lucy Pudilova fight, which obviously nobody really gives a shit about that fight, but at the same time, Lucy got all the takedowns. Um, you know, she was basically the aggressor, landed more shots, everything, and she gets the screws there too. So it's like half the judges are scoring on this, half are scoring on that. We've got to find a happy medium in the middle and get this thing solved. Because for one, I mean, the most important, like Kai Kara France, how many more opportunities is he going to have to get back to the top after this? I mean, this was, he's been around a while. He's fought for titles, didn't win, and beat Albazi in a flyweight division that's not that deep. He's got another little run in him, but now that's a huge step back for him. Not to mention win money, all of that stuff, and then the sports bettors who had bets on Kai Kara France, like you. I mean, that's not really fair, I guess, when when Kai was clearly winning that fight and should have won that fight. So, yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's just really dicey right now, and it's becoming more prevalent too. Like this is like every week we're talking about this. It feels like it's crazy.
Yeah, I honestly think maybe it seems like it's a growing issue because like I don't know, I don't remember it being this big of an issue. But maybe it's just the rise of like sports betting and people are
Mhm.
having money involved in this. And now if the judges get it wrong, it's like, all right, you're messing with the fighters' money and people that bet on its money. Like
Yeah.
I don't bet anything that I can't lose. So I'm not even pissed about like the money that I lost.
Yeah.
But I'm just more pissed about like moving forward. Like what can we really expect? You really go to the judges' scorecards every time and you're like, well, if they get it right, then I think this person wins. But if they don't, then it is what it is, and you just got to live with it. But yeah,
But and
I also think can be I can put my bias aside, like because I don't bet money that I'm like, okay, I need this money to live.
right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I could put it aside and really look at it. Maybe in the moment I'm like, all right, this guy won because I have money on him, but look back at it, it's just like nobody's talking about it. So
Yeah.
it's wild.
And Dana White always says, you know, to fix the problem, don't leave it in the judge's hands. But that's a little, that's easier said than done. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys are trying to finish each other, but they're also trying to not get finished. Like last night was some pretty high level fighting in that main event. Like both guys are phenomenal. They're great. But one split decision or one split movement, you're too late on this punch, you overextend and the fight's over. So I mean, it's
Right.
at the end of the day, it's not as easy as it sounds to just go in there and finish the dude so you don't get screwed on a split decision. So yeah, man, it's a tough situation. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. It's like if you're Kai and you have that in your mind, like I can't leave it to the judges. I have to knock this guy out. Then you're over swinging. You're
Yep.
letting the guy take you down. If you're Albazi and you're like, I can't leave this in the judges score, like in the judges' hands, then you might have to be a little more aggressive and you might get knocked out. It's like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be judged correctly. You can't just say,
Right.
leave it in the judges' hands. But
Yep.
yeah, that's all it is for the main event. Co-main event, Alex Caceres, Daniel Pineda. I had nothing on this fight other than the under the takedown, which didn't hit because he got it in the last 50 to 30 seconds or whatever. But we kind of alluded to it as well. A war fight of the night, Daniel Pineda. I think Daniel Pineda is fun to watch. Like he just goes out there and throws up crazy submissions, throws caution to the wind. I hope he stays around. Alex Caceres was able to defend a lot of those nasty submissions and do some good work on the feet as well. So a fun fight, super fun fight of the night. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, again, like I said, I had round 2 finish and round 3 finish for Caceres and almost had it. But one thing I didn't expect was Caceres to be that tired at the end of the fight. I thought Caceres was get a lot stronger as the fight went on, and it looked like he was. And then just third round, man, he just couldn't find it in him to dig deep and get it finished. Pineda, though, I talked about it in the preview show. I thought people were too high on him after beating Tucker Lutz, and I thought Tucker Lutz might have been overrated a little bit there going into that fight, and Pineda maybe people were too high on him coming in this fight against Caceres, because Caceres had a 6-1, now 7-1, maybe the sneakiest 7-1 record in the UFC or in that division. Like, you don't hear a lot about it, but he's pretty damn good. But yeah, fun fight. Pineda is like a zombie in there at times. I can't believe he didn't get finished, if I'm being honest. Tough as nails, just kind of did what we expected, though. Like we've seen in the past, he has a great round, and then he kind of gasses. He kind of puts everything into trying to get that finish, like he did in that second round with the submissions and stuff, and then he just kind of squeezes too much, and that's kind of all he got, all he has for the gas. But great fight of the night, probably for sure. Not really sure like where either guy goes from here. I mean, Caceres you would think would start fighting up, but at the same time, like he just flies so far under the radar. He doesn't really talk any shit. He doesn't really stir anything up to make these big fights. And for Pineda, being 37, this is his second stint in the UFC. You just take a loss. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him for a couple months. So,
yeah, I mean, Caceres hasn't really fought ahead of him.
nah,
and the only time he did was Sadiq Youssef, and he lost. So,
right,
he should probably get a step ahead of him. And we'll see if he can pull it off. But the boy Jim Miller getting it done in 3 punches. Absolutely murked Jesse Butler. And 48 hours notice for Jesse Butler. So props to him for stepping in. But I actually just made a video on this on my page about if Jared Gordon was in there and he took that punch from Jim Miller, like that is not a good look.
no,
Thank God Jared Gordon got pulled for that fight, because that left hand of Jim Miller, the way he put out Jesse Butler on that cage, clean out, like we haven't really seen that much like from Jim Miller before. Like that was his fastest knockout or fastest finish in his entire career. That's only his second first round KO in his career. Just murked the guy. I can't imagine if he hits Jared Gordon like that after a concussion, 6 weeks ago. That's probably not a good look. So good thing he got pulled out.
Yeah, the UFC is probably thinking, thank God we pulled Jared Gordon off this card, because, letting him fight 6 weeks after concussion and then he takes a shot like that, I mean, that could be really, really bad. And Dana White even said it in the post-fight press conference, like, yeah, we're the ones who saw Jared Gordon's interview and we pulled him. Like, you don't tell us that you're concussed and then you're going to go try to fight. Like, we can't have you in there fighting with a concussion. But yeah, like you said, props to Jesse Butler for taking the call, accepting it. I mean, that's exactly what you have to do if you're in his situation. You want to make it to the UFC. You finally get the call. You're fighting a guy who you're probably thinking like, okay, 40-something years old, a lot of wear and tear on his body. Maybe he's worn down. Like, this is a perfect opportunity, perfect type of opponent to come in against in your debut. And Jim Miller wasn't having any of that. I mean, dude, kind of a scary knockout. The dude had his leg behind him, like holding him up, and he was just out cold. And Jim Miller had that follow-up shot that was nasty too. So props to Jim Miller, man. 41st UFC fight. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
41. But yeah, knockout of the night. Maybe, candidate for knockout of the year so far.
Yeah, it was clean. I can't believe that he did that. Like,
yeah, he looked good.
Years old, and
yeah,
he's USADA tested. He still got the pop in there. And he throws like he's still hucking bombs. So that's like his style now. Is I'm just gonna go for broke. I don't even care if I win or lose. I'm just gonna go for it. Put on fun fights.
That shot puts anybody down too. I mean, that was nasty.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed too. Slip, come back with the left hand. It was nice. Tim Elliott getting in the win column against Victor Altamirano. Pretty much dominated, man. I mean, the only real slip up he had was on the feet. Like when he was on the feet, he'd kind of get cracked, but it didn't seem like it like hurt him too much. He's got like a pretty good chin overall, but he would get the takedowns at will. I mean, 6 of 7 takedowns landed, 85% on a flyweight is pretty tough. Like flyweights are tough to take down because they're fast. They can scramble pretty well. And Tim Elliott took him down at will, 11 minutes of control time, and landed a good amount of shots from on top, stayed busy. Overall, pretty solid performance for him. I thought he should definitely win this fight. I think maybe people were looking at his record and being like, he's kind of an older guy, middling guy, but he's still Tim Elliott, man. He's still still got all the skills there. And I think, the pace that he pushes on people, he just doesn't really allow you to like sit and strike with him like at all. And he's going to go for those takedowns, and they're tough to defend. So he's always a tough out. And I'm glad he got back in the win column for his sake as well. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought he fought exactly how he needed to. I mean, from the get go, those takedowns were so easy for him, and they were right there the whole fight. But you saw glimpses on the feet with Altamirano, man. He was cracking, and there was some situations there where, I'm glad Tim Elliott was getting the fight to the ground because he was definitely getting hit pretty hard. But man, he's a vet. He's tough. He's durable. And once he got on top, he didn't do like any big damage, but he swung enough to, make it look pretty damn good. 30-27 on most of the cards, I believe. I think there was 129-28 in there. But yeah, after everything he's been through, that's the perfect way to respond. Go in there, gets the win, dominates, and doesn't say a word about anything that was happening in his life on the mic. That was pretty cool. I thought he shouted out his kids, thanked his coaches, says that he's even better than that, and didn't get to show everything he's been working on, and just left everything else out of it. So yeah, props to Tim.
Tim Elliott title run. It's coming. The villain arc. Karine Silva, Ketlin Souza, the little knee pop. That was a nasty one. In hindsight, God damn it. I mean, I wish I would have just threw the house on Karine Silva because that girl is a problem. She is a problem at 125. I mean, was it 2 weeks ago? We saw Natalia Silva, who looks like a problem at 125. This girl might be a bigger problem. Like, she has some nasty submissions. She looks huge. And she's got some bombs on the feet too. Like, dang, this girl could be a real problem in 125. And I know she's going against a debuter, but she made light work of her. What do you think?
Yeah, light work, dude. And the confidence she has in her grappling too to drop into that leg like that. I mean, you're taking a risk there because if leg slips out or something, you're giving up position. You're going to be on your back, and depending on how good of a grappler the girl is, maybe the rest of the round you lose that round. But dude, she sunk that in so fast, and I feel bad for Souza a little bit. I mean, it looked like she tweaked something, like that knee was not bending correctly in that submission, tapped immediately. You hope she's okay, but man, Karine Silva putting the division on notice, and like you said, she's a big fighter. I was gonna say, I almost said dude, but I mean, she's big for that division. She's strong. She cracks. Submission game, obviously, and she's a finisher too. So that's exciting for the women's division.
How about this? She was matched up against the zombie girl, Priscilla Cachoeira, back on April 22nd, and I'm pretty sure we were both leaning Cachoeira. Not a fucking chance. I'm taking.
No way.
She would have not done the same thing to Priscilla Cachoeira because she has no submission defense.
No, none at all.
Priscilla does. So yeah, that's an eye opener. Kind of dodged a bullet there, but yeah, that chick is crazy. Lizo Dos Santos and Abubakar Nurmagomedov, split decision win for Dos Santos. We were both on Dos Santos early in the week, and then I kind of bitched out, and I went with the Nurmagomedov name. I looked like Abubakar was in like the best shape of his life. They said he had the best camp of his life. I thought Habib might be in the corner. He wasn't, so that's probably why he lost. But yeah, it was a frustrating fight to watch because Abubakar could not stand with him at all. Like, he landed a couple of good shots in the first round and then was just like diving and looking for clinch and just couldn't get any takedowns. Landed one takedown the entire fight. Just getting clinch control and shit. But yeah, it's just frustrating to watch. And I was banking on Dos Santos to finish him too because I had like a little hedge. Now, that was the worst case scenario ever for me in that fight because I had Dos Santos by finish and Nurmagomedov by decision. I figured if it goes to decision, Nurmagomedov probably stayed safe and got him to the ground at least, got some control time. Not the case. Dos Santos was able to stuff it a little bit and then land the better shots in the rounds that he won. So props to him, though. I mean, he's 36, coming off a big long layoff, but you're Nurmagomedov. Where do you go from here, man? You're hurting the name even more because there's that stat out there is like what their record is. like 4 out of the 6 losses are for
Yeah.
Car now. Like, come on. Uh, tough one for the man. What do you think?
Yeah. I made a video saying this line feels like a trap because all the money was on Nurmagomedov, and probably half the people betting on him was just blindly betting on him because of his name and because of his camp and who he trains with. But I mean, if you know Dos Santos, the guy like against Benoit Saint Benoit, Benin, dude, he was stuffing everything. He was cracking him. Almost had the finish. Like the guy can grapple, and the guy, defensively. I mean, we've seen him get taken down before, but at the same time, Nurmagomedov is not at the level that Islam and Habib and some of his training partners are. He's just not. He's never had more than one takedown in the UFC in a UFC fight. So I was really really cautious about hammering Nurmagomedov, and I put him in a small parlay just because I thought, what, this is just the line feels weird and stuff, but 36 years old, coming off a PED suspension for Dos Santos, like maybe the line is just maybe this is just going to blow up in its face, but it didn't. It stuck with it. Even money with 85% of the money and tickets on Nurmagomedov. So yeah, man, Dos Santos getting it done, pretty impressive. And like you said, if you're Nurmagomedov, where do you really go from here? I mean, you haven't looked impressive. He doesn't really do anything in there besides try to land these takedowns. And I'll admit, like the first 30 seconds, he looked pretty good in the striking department. He was aggressive, came straight across the octagon, swinging. But as the fight went on, man, he was taking some big shots, and you could tell he just wasn't on that level that Dos Santos was. So yeah, man, that's a good win for Dos Santos. Anytime you can beat a Nurmagomedov and put that on your record as a win, you're doing something right.
Very true. Daniel Santos, Johnny Munoz. The boy Johnny Munoz. I don't know if you saw it, but it looked like he was peeing blood. Uh,
Ooh,
on Twitter, I saw like a picture of him.
after the fight?
Yeah, with a bottle, and there was a liquid that was red tinted
Hmm.
and kind of fizzy. Looked like a. That's what I'm guessing he was
Yeah.
putting on there for. But yeah, he took a couple nut shots.
Oh, fuck
Santos,
yeah.
was it Santos that got the point deducted in
Yep.
that one? Yeah, because he won 29-27. Um, so I guess that might have played a big factor in there for Johnny Munoz, because if you're peeing blood, that's probably not a good sign. But a terrible performance for him, I gotta say. So I mean, I'll cut him a little slack there if he's peeing blood, but the guy was just content to lay on his back and play guard, like not even really play guard. Like he
Chrome
played guard,
Gracie. Chrome
yeah,
Gracie style.
he
Yeah.
played guard for like the first round. He was trying to throw up some good submissions, but then after that, uh, maybe it's just because he started to feel that blood
Yeah.
go down to his bladder, but he was just locking up the body triangle from the bottom position and just sitting there and pulling guard and everything. It was just not a good look.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Santos inside the distance. I think you might have too, but
Hmm.
we were both probably pissed about that. we were wanting Santos to just let him up. But if you're Santos, I mean, just rack up the control time. You're on top, not really threatening much with the submission. So I mean, that's about as easy a win you can get, without taking a lot of damage, because I mean, he's in the driver's seat. It's not taking any shots from the bottom. So yeah, bad matchup for Johnny Munoz. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, no, the inside the distance bet, like I didn't expect Munoz to close guard that often. I mean,
that's
you could
terrible.
tell he was content to just close guard. Like I was expecting if the fight went to the ground and Santos was in the guard, that he'd have plenty of chances to pass and get into side control and maybe do some damage, find a submission of his own. But it just never really came. And every time he'd stand up, I think Santos played too long with kicking the legs and didn't let him up. And then he decided to go back down into the guard. So a little bit frustrating. But if you're Santos, I mean, you're dominating the fight that way. Why would you change anything? I do feel bad for Munoz though. That first nut shot was
Yeah,
so
that was nasty.
flush, and it's right at the beginning of the fight. It's like that's a huge damper, and maybe that changed his game plan and how he thought he should fight. But yeah,
Because
yeah,
that it
but
just didn't even make sense. Like, why
no, yeah,
closing guard for 11 minutes of the fight?
yeah,
Uh, and that first nut shot was pretty nasty. Like
oh yeah,
mid kick, like that cup probably didn't even cover it because his leg was like extended, and
yeah,
Santos was like coming from the other angle, like more upwards at it.
right,
So he might have just caught that shit flush.
yeah.
But the one in round 3 was not that bad.
No,
It
no,
ended
that
up,
was more like leg and then glanced off. But
yeah, yeah. But at that point, might have hurt really bad. So
Yeah.
we'll give him a little pass there. But
Yep.
Dontel Mays, Andre Arlovsky, terrible, terrible fight, terrible fight. I told you before we started recording, they were walking out to the octagon, I thought, why in the hell did I ever bet on this fight? Because this makes no sense. Neither side makes sense. When I took Arlovsky and he gets knocked out in the second round after we were talking about how Dontel Mays can't knock out a fucking mannequin,
Yeah.
and he goes out there and catches Arlovsky with the right hand. I don't want to see either of these guys in the UFC ever again. Get
Yeah.
him out
No,
of
I
it.
agree.
I don't think Dontel Mays is UFC worthy, and Arlovsky just needs to hang him up. You had a great career. Just let it go, man. Just let it go. That's 2 straight finishes or losses by finish for Arlovsky. He got cracked in that Rogerio de Lima fight and then got submitted, but yeah, just no real reason for him to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
disappointing.
mean, the shot that Dontel Mays landed, like, I don't even know if it was like that clean or like flush. I think it's just Arlovsky's 44 years old, and once he went to the ground, Mark Smith really didn't give him a chance to recover or anything. He just called
Yeah,
it, probably because of his age. Didn't want him taking all that damage. So, yeah, frustrating for Arlovsky bettors like myself. It was my smallest play on the straight bets, though. Like, I didn't have hardly anything invested in it. Just it was more fading Dontel Mays. But like you said, man, I don't want to see these guys fight anymore. Either one of them.
John Castaneda, Muin Gafurov. We picked the wrong Tajik because
Yeah.
goddamn, Gafurov did he didn't look bad, but he looked super aggressive without like a lot of technique behind it on the feet, just kind of winging bombs
Yeah.
and on the ground. I'll give it to him. And he was tough. He was a tough out for Castaneda. But Castaneda took some shots and just didn't really look phased by it. I think that's like a pretty common thing with Castaneda. Leaves his head out there and he'll take shots, but he's able to take them. Like he'll get hit clean, but he's able to take them and he doesn't fall down. Unless you really wear him out like Santos did in the second round there. But Gafurov wasn't able to do that, and Castaneda had the better cardio. Round 3 took over. It was probably a 1-1 going into the third round. There was the point deduction, but got the win for Castaneda. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was a little weird. Like Gafurov looked pretty good. But second round, like somewhere in the middle, I don't know if he thought he had Castaneda hurt or what, but he emptied the gas tank like clear as day. I mean, it looked exactly like what he was doing. I mean, he just threw every shot he had as hard as he could, just over and over and over. And then you could tell from the rest of the fight he was just tired, didn't really have much left. And I don't know if I can't remember if that's before the yeah, I guess it would have been before the point deduction, right? I can't remember exactly, but either way, he emptied the gas tank when he didn't have to. That was frustrating because I could see it coming. I was like, man, he's gassed now. This is not going to be good. Castaneda's, got a lot more experience. He's going to deal with it and he's going to win, and he did. But yeah, like you said, wrong Tajik in that one.
Yeah, that leads us into the next one. Muhammad Naimov and Jamie Malarkey.
Holy shit!
Biggest underdog on the card. Muhammad Naimov and Jamie Malarkey. Naimov getting the second round KO. Uh, I we made our prediction video like when it came out because he was on short notice for Naimov, and we didn't really give Naimov much of a chance, just
Yeah,
considering the circumstances and everything. And he was coming up. He's normally 145 or coming up to 155. Bigger dude, Jamie Malarkey. But then the line came out because this was before the line came out, and then the line came out, and neither of us touched Malarkey because we were like, yeah, this is, I don't really like it. That was the right move. But if we would have took Naimov, we would be making some good money on that.
yeah,
But Malarkey, I had that weird feeling, man. Like, I don't think he should ever be minus 400, like
right.
against anybody. Like, he just fights, unless he's fighting Francisco Prado, he just fights a little too reckless that I don't really like it. And
Yeah,
it caught him there. He mixed it up decently in the first round, second round, just gets caught. And Naimov capitalizes. What do you think?
yeah. That's exactly. I mean, like why I didn't touch the fight at all. No parlays with Jamie, no nothing. And yeah, in hindsight, like I wish I would have just sprinkled something on the dog there. But I'll never be mad at not touching a fight like that, short notice. Jamie Malarkey, who's, not the best fighter, not the worst fighter. So it's just hard to tell what's going to happen when you get in those situations like that with short notice guys who are good, but you don't know how good they really are until they get into that level. And Jamie Malarkey actually for the debuter, like that's a great fight to come in and test yourself, like see where you're really at. And caught him with the right hand, put him out, and Jamie Malarkey was protesting, but as he was getting up, like he's stumbling all over the place. Like that's a good stoppage in my opinion.
Yeah.
Congrats to him though. I mean, that's a great first win if you're Nemov, and coming up to 155 too, and doing that with that power, like that's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive. Elise Reed, Jinyu Frey. I got nothing to say on this one because I didn't really watch too much of it. Because once Jinyu Frey got that takedown within the first minute of the fight, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm gonna take this one off. You got anything to say on it?
Just that Elise Reed has the worst striking defense of all time. She was getting hit with shots. I'm like, how are you getting hit with that shot? And her head's snapping back. Like she'd rush in, throw 2 good shots, and her head would just be pounding back. Like I was honestly, I didn't pay too close attention to this fight because I didn't have anything invested. But I wouldn't have been surprised to hear a Jinyu Frey decision win. Honestly, like maybe it's because I didn't really watch the fight too closely, but just from what I saw, like I don't know, it seemed like Jin was maybe hitting her a little bit harder at times and getting some better shots in. Maybe earlier in the fight more so than late, but yeah, man, those fights it's kind of like piss break.
Yeah, I didn't watch it too closely. I was like making some food.
Yeah,
and I had the TV on, but every time I was looking at the TV, like Jinyu Frey was either catching her or she was like on the ground on top of her.
Yeah.
Then they give her a unanimous decision win to Elise Reed. I'm like, did I miss something? Like what's going on here? But
yeah,
I don't really care too much. So Damon Blackshear, Luan Lacerda, the boy the monster Blackshear getting it done in the second round. And it's crazy because we were both on Damon Blackshear at the beginning of the week, and then we both flipped the script and went to Luan Lacerda. He almost had that knee bar in the first round, I think it was. But then after that, he had nothing in the tank. Like the dude looked gassed after like 3 minutes. He gets back up to the feet. He's like throwing labored punches. Like there had to be something wrong with him because he didn't look nearly on the level that he looked against Cody Stamann. Maybe it's what Damon Blackshear did to him, but Damon Blackshear getting it done. Good performance for him. I mean, Luan Lacerda is no joke on the ground, and to survive, I thought he had it locked in. That knee bar, I thought he had it locked in for sure. To survive that, Blackshear's never been finished, so the dude's durable, and he got it done. Props to him. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think looking back, like I should have stuck with Blackshear, and based on that, he needed a win worse than anybody there, worse than Lacerda. I mean, you fight Basharat, and I told you before this, man, like I should have put more stock into how well he did against Basharat than I did. Like, he didn't look terrible in that fight. He made it pretty close for being a plus 400 dog. So yeah, I should have seen this one coming. Should have stuck with my guns, but it is what it is. Luan Lacerda's got to figure something out. Maybe he was hurt. Like I kept saying to myself, like it's got to be some kind of injury he was dealing with because he looked nothing like he did against Stamann. And you would think Stamann's a better fighter than Blackshear. At least he's more proven and more UFC experience, fought the higher level guys, all that. But yeah, man, Blackshear was definitely dog of the night in my opinion. Maybe our lens pick was dog of the night, but yeah, Blackshear, props to him.
Probably name off the biggest dog coming through.
I just meant our dog.
our dog of the night was Felipe Lins, and that was the first fight of the night. Great way to start the card. Felipe Lins getting it done. 30-27 on one of the judges' scorecards, 49-28 on the others. One of them being Mike Bell. Shout out to Mike Bell for giving the fight to Kai Kara-France. But Felipe Lins, I thought he could have put him out. Like he was hucking some bombs in the first round, and ultimately he would go to the control time, cage control, like I called out in the double leg exclusive premium show. Was expecting a lot of cage control, thought he could put him out, and hit Grisham under strikes, which was a solid hit there, and then we hit Lins on the money line. So good way to start the card. Thought Felipe Lins should have been favored, and he proved it. I was happy about that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I was scared that Felipe Lins was going to be at a point in his career that, he's older. He probably isn't obviously going to run for the title. Maybe he's just taking paychecks at this point and he's not training as hard. But what he did show, I think, is that he is still taking this pretty serious. I mean, he used to gas out, comes down to 205. He looked in phenomenal shape for being, you look at pictures of him back in the day compared to now, like the dude is shredded. And he went in there, he kept the pace, he pushed the fight up against the cage when he needed to, landed some bombs, and he did it for 3 rounds. So I was super impressed. You could tell he'd been working hard coming into the fight, and that's exactly the type of underdogs that I want to put my money on.
Hell
I
yeah.
saw a lot of people on Grisham this week, and I kind of liked being on Lynn's there. I kind of, you saw what the public was doing, what they thought, and plus 120, Felipe Lins, man, that was a great way to start the card.
That's our boy Lins. See who he gets next, but I'll be looking to bet him. That's the recap for UFC Vegas 74. Moving in next week, we got UFC 289 in Vancouver. Amanda Nunes, Irene Aldana, and Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush pay-per-view event. Not the most stacked, but it is a pay-per-view, and those are the fights, or those are the cards where you know a little bit more about the fighters, and you can make a little bit better predictions. So hopefully we can make those predictions for you. If you want to get those predictions, come back right here on YouTube at the Double Leg, and you can watch our prediction show, which will be out within the next couple of days. And if you want our bets, you can join the Double Leg Premium, which will be down in the description below. At HeyJai Picks on the medias for me, at the Double Leg on the medias. You can keep up to date with everything there. Where can they find you?
On all medias now at the Parlay MMA.
All right, till next video when we're breaking down UFC 289, the Double Leg.